Hello and welcome to another chess game. In this video I'm continuing with the Bromans, so Magnus Carlsen versus Anish Giri. These guys are playing again at the Legends of Chess tournament, already in the first round. However, this time there is no social media banter or any psychological warfare, no tweeting, they are just playing chess. So let's go to the game. So this is going to be the second game from the match. The first one was drawn, and the second one Magnus Carlsen is with the white pieces. So it's d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, and bishop b4, knight c3, bishop b4, bishop g5, so the Ragozin defense, and after h6, here the main line would be bishop takes f6, with thousands of games. However, at this point Magnus Carlsen decided to play bishop d2, which there are only a very few games in the database. Here Giri Anish castled and comes g4 from Carlsen. So well, g4 is a novelty, and after at least novelty at the very high level. And after the game, Magnus Carlsen said that today's preparation is basically checking in own lines whether some g4 or h4 can lead to some serious attack and initiative for white. So well, let's see what's the idea behind this g4. So if you take the pawn, then white could play rook g1, and there would be immediately quite some attack against the black king. So say after knight f6 there's already bishop takes h6, and white's attack is just huge. So after g4, the very schematic move would be c5. So once your opponent tries to attack you on the king side, the counterpunch is usually in the center. However, most likely Anish did not want to go for this line because it's a short time controlled game, and c5 is definitely the line that Carlsen must have analyzed. So after g4, here Anish decided to play bishop takes c3, and after bishop takes c3 there's knight e4, with the idea that actually now the g5 square is quite controlled. And after queen c2, Anish again for some long thinking, but he decided to play c5, and when Carlsen took it, so now actually this bishop is opened up, but there is some counterplay in the center. Now comes b6, and actually so the time control is both players have 15 minutes and 10 seconds increments for each move. So by this point already Anish already had just very few minutes left. And to b6, Carlsen found the best continuation with pushing forward with g5. So it seemed like that this g5 score is well controlled, but it turns out that it's actually not. So here the best move would be just to play h5 and try to keep the position closed. But we could check what happens if black captures the pawn. So if knight takes on g5, then white takes on g5, queen takes g5, and the problem is that now this bishop is going to be a very dominant piece, and anytime a rook can arrive on the g file, it could cause huge damage. So in this position actually white could play something like h4, and if the black king, white queen goes back, then there could be rook g1 coming, and otherwise, for example, if black plays queen g6, then white can actually exchange the queens because white hasn't sacrificed any material actually, and after say c takes b6, he has the two dominant bishops, his pawn structure is weak, so while white is doing very well. So again, knight takes g5 is not an option for Giri, so for that reason he took with the pawn, but here Carlsen opens up the lines further with h4. And now Anish played g4, and the white knight can arrive on g5. And of course the idea is that if black would take, then after h takes g, this h file is opened, there's queen h7 mate threatening, so this is a no-go for black again. So to knight g5, black decided to play f5 to strengthen the position of the e4 knight. And now white plays bishop g2, and if we stop here for a second, we could see that actually at this point the material is equal, even though black has some options to take some pawns. So this pawn is hanging, and also black could take on g5 twice, so this is another way to win a pawn. However, white is already fully developed. All he needs is a long castle. His bishops are going to be super dominant. There's a chance to open up the center. If the right rook arrives on d1, there would be a huge pin. So white's position is very dangerous for black. So here Anish decided to start taking the pawns to have some material for the bad position. So b takes c5. Now Carlsen even castles long, with the idea if black just takes the exchange with knight takes f2, then white could just totally open up the position. C takes d, knight takes d1, rook takes d1, and now white has just too many threats. Now there's d takes e6, opening up this diagonal. Also knight takes e6 could come, and all the white pieces are just incredibly dominant. And actually in this position, the engine suggestion for black is just to resign. So this is completely winning for white. So therefore Anish did not take the pawn on f2, but he took the pawn on g5. And after hd, queen g5 check, there is king b1. And here again the threat is c takes d5, because of this huge pin on the long diagonal. And here Anish decided to give many material actually to white, give a lot of material to white, and but for the prize that he can actually finally finish development. So Anish plays knight d7, c takes d5, knight b6, d takes e6. So now this is also discovered attack, but Anish decided not to care about it and just take bishop takes e6. And after bishop takes a8, rook a8, actually white is up with the exchange. There's only one pawn for the exchange for black. However, the king is still super weak, and also the black pieces are just not well coordinated at this point. So here Carlsen played queen d2 with the idea just to go for the ending and won it in a simple and most clear way. However, Anish decided not to exchange the queens, even for the prize that he is very likely going to get mated here. So queen g6 is what Anish played. Now the white queen penetrates queen d6, f4 checks king b1, and here Anish played rook f8, which actually turns out to be a huge blunder, because in this position there is mate in 4. So again, you can stop the video here and try to find the best continuation for white. Actually, Magnus Carlsen himself missed the mate, which he said after the interview that it was quite embarrassing to miss such an easy mate. However, the move he played, which was queen e5, was also easily winning. So here the mate is starting with rook h8 with the idea to lure away the black king from the defense of this rook. After king h8, there is queen f8 check, bishop g8, and the other rook arrives on h1. And when black plays queen h7, white doesn't care about taking the queen, but just simply the reverse mate on g7. So this would have been an easy and nice stylish finish to the game. However, Carlsen played queen e5 as mentioned before, which also doesn't give away the win at all. So it is still completely winning for white. Black tries to place g3 to create some counterplay with a pass pawn, but it's just not enough. So f takes g, rook knight c4. Again, Carlsen plays queen h5, which is the simplest way to just simplify and go for the ending with the huge material advantage. So some takes, knight a3, rook g1, bishop f5. So last trick is to some nice c2 checks. However, Carlsen of course did not blunder this, plays b3, and fg, rook takes g3, bishop g4, rook takes c5, rook f1 check, king b2. Well, these are just some moves from Anish before resigning. Knight d1 check, king e3, knight c3, and after rook g4, Anish finally resigned. The white rooks are too dominant and the white is already up so much material. Yeah, so this was this game, and actually Carlsen went on winning this battle quite convincingly. So they played 4 rapid games and Carlsen won 2 of them and 2 draws, so it was 3-1 to Carlsen. And yeah, as mentioned in the beginning of the video, there was no bantering or social media at this point. And when they asked Carlsen about it, he said that, well, it was supposed to be a friendly banter and it seemed like it went to somewhat different direction, so he decided not to pursue this any further. And by the way, so this tournament is this Legends of Chess, which features top players from nowadays, so Magnus Carlsen, Anish Giri, Liren, Nepomniachtchi, but also features sort of legends, so players like Vladimir Kramnik, ex-world champion, Viswanathan Anand, also ex-world champion, and other players like Boris Gelfand or Peter Svidler. So in my upcoming videos, I will continue the coverage of this tournament, but of course there are so many interesting games that it's very hard to, or actually almost impossible to keep up with the interesting games. But yeah, see you in the next video.